Starting. Hello, comadres. I am super excited and honored to be here holding space for New Moon. Thank you to Marlene for allowing me to share the space while she lives her life too. We get to share the space as comadres and madrinas. I am so excited to share the wisdom of the new moon in Cancer, and part of me is like, I just want to get into it because not only am I going to deconstruct all that this new moon brings us, but I also felt very pulled to pull a card for us for this to seal the experience as well. So I want to get started with how the new moon, really is impacting us in so many ways, because I think some of us thought that leaving eclipse and retrograde season was going to be a bit of relief. And I mean, I think if some of us did have a sense of relief, but ultimately what we did from moving out of Gemini eclipse and retrograde season and moving into Cancer season is we went from being in our minds, because Gemini is ruled by Mercury. It's very mental. It's a very mental experience. And we moved into Cancer, which is ruled by the moon, which is all about our subconscious. It is all about our emotions. It is all about our feelings. And so I think what we're starting to experience, especially as the moon phases begin to impact us, is we're moving out of our minds. And I think a lot of us are finally starting to feel the impacts, to feel the aftermath of what retrograde and eclipse season gave us. Because from a linguistic perspective or etymology perspective, emotion, and I say it over and over again in Cafecito, it means ex movere, to move out. So we had a lot of time stuck in our head with the mercurial energy of Mercury and Gemini in that season. And now we get to be in our subconscious. We get to begin to feel it. We get to embody it. We get to move it. We get to really process it. We get to integrate the lessons of it. And at the same time, it doesn't mean that things won't continue to happen, right? Like, crazy things will continue to happen even without a retrograde, even without an eclipse. But now, instead of being stuck in our heads, we can actually kind of, put that hand over your heart and breathe into it and say, what am I feeling, instead of being stuck in your mind. And so I want to deconstruct also, what does Cancer, the moon, mean to us, so that we understand what's going to be happening to us when the moon goes into its new moon phase tomorrow. So everyone thinks of Cancer, and I'm sure, I don't know about y'all, but I always think about the symbolism of all the signs. And everyone knows that Cancer is a crab. And Marlene and I mentioned this a little bit on our last live, but I didn't know until recently the mythology of the crab and why crab represents Cancer. But I joke that, the symbolism of the crab it was kind of like the big pimp of the sea for Neptune. He was making sure that Neptune's mermaids and sirens were taken care of, that they weren't being attacked, that they weren't being taken away. And so when we think about Cancer energy, we always think about the mother's vibes, but it's protection in all the ways, because even Crios, which is the crab that represents Cancer, he was taking care of everyone. He was taking care of the women, specifically the divine feminine in the sea, for Neptune when he was doing his thing. And so there's a sense of protection. There's a sense of, nurturing, even from a masculine perspective. So I think we always equate Cancer to very divine feminine, but even in its symbolism, there's the divine feminine and masculine being able to protect. It's protection and nurturing. I also think that there's a sense of boundaries, right? Because Crios was the one who was like, no, you guys you can't hang out with us. Like, you're not allowed in this area, right? Like, knowing when to let something in and knowing when to say, like, be the bouncer of the vibes, be the bouncer of the seas, being the bouncer of the emotions, saying, hey, this is as far as this can go now. So the first thing that comes up for me with Cancer vibes is this is a time where you can reflect, what are my boundaries? Where are my boundaries with my life after this tumultuous season? If you haven't figured it out during eclipse and retrograde season. Now you could be like, yo, what are the boundaries I have in my life? Where do I not have boundaries? What is coming in to my seas, my emotional seas, that shouldn't be here? What gets to have a hard no? Where can Crios, the crab, the bouncer of the seas? That's how I'm thinking of Cancer now. He's the bouncer of the seas. Like, where does the bouncer of the seas get to go? You don't get to party with us tonight. You don't get to hang out with us today. And really bring it. I know I bring it, I joke, I'm kind of like Elo from the block. So I bring it into like these more pop cultural terms, but I think this is how we get to look at it, right? Like, where do you deserve a bouncer for your emotions and for your life and for the things that don't make you feel like it belongs? Because sometimes when we're not careful, we things will come in and it'll take over before we know it. Okay, so that's the first thing that comes up for me with the symbolism of this new moon in Cancer. We get to really say, where do we get to protect, where we get to put the boundaries up? Because here's the thing, when a crab has good boundaries, it's able to navigate, it's able to do its thing. It's got its hard shell, it's soft inside, but it can do its thing. But when we let the boundaries be overtaken, then it's going to completely retreat. And that's why often Cancer as a sign is thought of home, right? Because we're just gonna, we're always protected by that shell of home, and also that mother figure from more of the divine feminine symbolism of it. But it's you're going to retreat in home, right? And so you get to enjoy what's home base, but you don't need to seclude yourself in the home, right? So the idea is you get to really witness your boundaries, so you're not stuck in the shell that you've created, so you can flow in the water and not get stuck in that shell. Now, from the moon, so interestingly enough, we've got this new moon in Cancer, and Cancer is ruled by the moon. So whenever I'm looking at a natal chart and I see a moon in Cancer, I'm like, oof, moon upon moon, like amplified emotional energy, right? We're going to have this amplified, it's going to be, yes, we're going to feel our feels. So that is something you really get to witness tomorrow. If you're feeling your feels, one of the things we get to look at is, where are my boundaries? But you also get to witness, what is making me feel my feels? Where have I not allowed myself to feel my feels? Because it might be amplified with this ruling planet in the sign that it rules. Okay, sun, moon, and Cancer. Yeah, and rising, sun, moon, and rising, Kate, in Cancer, girl, you gonna be feeling your feels for a good girl. So you're probably feeling it already, to be honest with you, because the moon is like a magnetic source. I see Kate, yeah. But you know what? That's actually a beautiful thing, Kate. One of the things that I love about our Cancers is that you feel, because there's a philosophy in human design that our emotional solar plexus, being able to feel our feels, is what leads us to spiritual ascension. So we want to also really recognize that we've lived. So the opposite of Cancer, by the way, is Capricorn, which is patriarchy, which is tradition. Well, yeah, I see you're raising her hand. And it's a beautiful thing, because feelings allow for spiritual evolution, spiritual ascension, spiritual breakthroughs. Tradition wants to say, suck it up, keep on going. But no, actually, we need to move it out so we can have the breakthroughs. Emotions are our portals for breakthroughs, y'all. Emotions are the portal for breakthroughs. So Kate, you are like our poster girl for, hey, we get to feel our feels, and we get to see what it looks like on the other side. We get to see what's on the other side with that. So thank you. I want to thank our Uber Cancers, because that's a beautiful, beautiful combination. So what I wanted to talk to when we talk about the moon is our subconscious. It's our emotions. It is the mother. It's the nurturer. So y'all, when I saw this combination, I'm like, Jamie, no surprise that our word of the month is nourish. Because not only do we get to understand where our boundaries are, but then we get to say, now that we've processed mentally in Gemini, now that we're starting to witness our boundaries, then we also get to say, where can I nourish myself? Because often when we are processing our emotions, we are in our sympathetic nervous state, and we are trying to defend ourselves, we're trying to avoid, we're trying to flee. but we also don't witness that our emotions also tell us where we get to feed ourselves, where we get to hold ourselves, where we get to take care of ourselves. So after you've witnessed, what are the boundaries that you get to observe? What are the boundaries that you get to witness? Then this moon is also going to tell us, where can I be nurtured? Now, we always think of Cancer, for those super astro people, we think of like Cancer being, this bohemian. I always think of like Cancer archetypes as, flowy dresses by the water. But I want you to also know that when we break the signs down into all of their pieces, we get more insights. Cancer may be water, and Cancer may be ruled by the moon, and Cancer may represent the divine feminine, but Cancer is a cardinal sign, y'all. And if you don't know what a cardinal sign is, cardinal signs are the signs that start the seasons. So this isn't, oh, I'm feeling my feels and I'm just going to sit here and cry about it. Cardinal signs start things. So cardinals, so you can feel your feelings, but the idea, this is why I was talking about thank you, Kate, for saying you've got a triple Cancer, because that is the point of breakthrough. And when you have a breakthrough, you can actually go into action. So this Cancer moon for me is also like a reminder that feelings don't have to paralyze you. Feelings, emotions, all of this subconscious energy doesn't have to paralyze you. It actually can allow you to see what it is that you get to do next. And a lot of people look at the new moon, because the new moon is also called a dark moon, because there's nothing there. You can't see it, because then after that it starts growing. So that's where we get this idea that we get to plant seeds. And so now we get to plant the seeds of like, where do I get to go? We really can look at this as an emotionally led, a heart-centered led action rather than a logical action. Capricorn's going to make us think with our mind, but Cancer's going, where does my heart want to go? What am I how do I feel about the action that I'm taking? Is it really leading me to where I want to go? And do I feel like that's aligned? And now the interesting thing is, like I said before, just because we left eclipse and retrograde season doesn't mean the world is not in upheaval. In Cancer season, we've had some really crazy stuff happen. We had the tower fall, and we've had the terrible thing in Haiti happen, and we've got this crazy storms. Life is always going to throw us storms, whether it's retrograde season or not. But Cancer allows us to then do it from a heart-centered place, not an over-analytical place. It allows us to actually say it's okay for me to like be upset or be sad or be happy while I'm doing the things that I'm doing while the world is in its experience. And I looked at some of the aspects that are happening specifically tomorrow. And tomorrow, not only are we going to have the new moon in Cancer, but it's going to be what we call sextile Uranus and Taurus. So I don't know if you all know about Uranus, but Uranus is what I joke. This is where you can let your freak flag fly. It is rebellious. It is independent. It does its own thing. It doesn't pay attention to what people are doing. It says it's a reminder once again. Cancer doesn't mean I'm going to sit in a corner in a ball crying. It goes, I'm feeling stuff. I get to feel stuff. And with that sextile in Uranus, you get to say, the energy that comes up for me is like a shield maiden, like a warrior, a female warrior of battle, saying like, okay, I'm feeling my feels, but I'm gonna go into the storm. I'm gonna go into the battle, and I know what to do from that point. And for me, that moon is like an emotional protectus. Uranus, don't give AF. That's right. That's right, Jenny. So we've got that really bold energy. It's gonna be a very bold emotional energy. It's not going to be a paralyzing. I want you to remember, if you feel like you're going to paralyze just because the moon is in Cancer, that it's actually that's stories you're telling yourself about what you know about Cancer, because Cancer can actually be quite the warrior goddess when she's paired up with the right combination. Now here's the thing too. Tomorrow, not only are we going to be sextile Uranus, by the way, sextile Uranus in Taurus, which is about safety and security. So it also means to me, like, it's safe to go to battle when your emotions are riled up. Like you get to defend your boundaries. You get to defend your emotions. You get to defend what you feel. You get to do your own thing. You get to do your thing, baby girls. All right. Now, the thing that I really wanted to point out, which I think is going to be, for me, when I saw this, I'm like, ooh, this is going to be the point of tomorrow's new moon with this new moon in Cancer. It's going to be square Chiron in Aries. Chiron is going to be in Aries for a good number of years, I think until like 2026. And Chiron is the wounded healer. It's our medicine. It's what allows us to not only hear something for ourselves, but it's what we get to heal in others. And it's in Aries, which is the self. Motto is I am. So don't be surprised if tomorrow, not only do you feel your feels and you feel like, okay, I'm going to go to battle for something. I feel okay defending and protecting my boundaries, because what it's going to do, it's going to help you understand the core of yourself. So what you get to do is you get to nourish your feelings, you get to nourish your boundaries, you get to nourish who you really are. Because this Chiron and Aries that we're experiencing as a collective in general is all about like healing. Who am I? A lot of us are trying to figure out who we are. I am not surprised that the pandemic happened while Chiron was in Aries, because all of us are like, okay, who am I really? Now that I'm home by myself, who am I really? And so these phases of the planets, these phases of the moons help us in different ways to experience the parts of ourselves that we're not witnessing, the parts of ourselves that we're not healing, and the parts of ourselves that when we figure that ish out, we get to heal for other people. I tell it like it is. Now, another thing that comes up for me, and my desk is a whiteboard, so if you keep on seeing me look at my desk, that's why. It's okay to take time alone. It's okay. Part of your battle tomorrow or over this next lunar phase could be like, hey, I get to fight for the right to be on my own, to take time for me, to slow it down, to follow my intuition. Because Cancer, that's the other part we really didn't talk about, is Cancer is also about intuition. It's about flow. It's not about, so we always learn from the sign we're talking about when we look at the opposite. Once again, Capricorn, it's not about, okay, these are the rules. This is the procedure. These are the instruction manuals for feeling. This is the instruction. No, this is about, what am I being called to do? What am I being led to do? Where do I feel the flow for this experience? There are no rules. In fact, I was thinking, oh, let's do a ritual. And I'm like, F the rituals. The ritual is you. The ritual is where you want to be led. The ritual is what you're being called to, because that's ultimately, guess what? What's going to nourish you. Cancer, when she's following her intuition, she knows what she needs to do to nourish herself. So you get to go into battle and you get to take time alone, because ultimately the idea is you get to trust. Last month's word. You get to trust your intuition. You get to trust what you get to do to nourish yourself. And so I think some of these major themes are going to be really supportive for what we get to do ahead. I mean, obviously, also, if you know where your natal moon lies, you may want to find out what house your natal moon, what house the current moon is transiting in your chart. That will give you insights to maybe what area of life you might want to focus on, just because it's transiting there for you in your own chart. So that might be some personalized wisdom and guidance if you really want to, because I know not all of us are like, let's go with the flow. Some of us are like, I want to go with the flow, but I want to know some little more details. So that might be a hint for my more structured earth and fire folks. Yeah, I see the hand raising, and that's okay. That's beautiful, because that's where your intuition says. Your intuition says, I need just a little bit more details before I go there, and that's okay. So what I'm going to do real quick. So where is Cancer in the chart on the moon? Okay, great question. So so when we're looking at a natal chart, so when you're looking at your birth chart, that is static, that does not move, and everyone has all the signs within them, but you might not have all planets in every sign. So what you'll find is you'll look at Cancer, which is, I mean, it kind of looks like people on memes say it looks like a 69. So it kind of looks like two little things opposing each other. And that's where you'll see Cancer. And Cancer is in between Gemini, which is like, it looks like Roman numeral 2, and Leo, which looks like a swirly loop. So what's going to happen is, if you don't have any planets in your natal chart in Cancer, that's fine. What happens is you're going to want to look at transits. And if anyone have questions, you can always hit me up in Mighty Networks and I can pull that information for you. But what you're going to find is that the moon may be transiting in your specific chart under different houses. So the moon is going to be in different houses for different people, depending on what your chart looks like. And that's dictated by your rising sign. So once again, if anyone wants to go deeper into that, you could just send me a message on Mighty Networks and I'll be happy to share. Now, I don't know if there are any questions that have come up, but what I want to do, and actually we'll go into Q&A soon, but what I want to do is I want to seal this message with a card, because that's where my intuition was pulling me towards as a way of sealing this experience. But I think it's really clear. We get to be okay with our feelings, and we get to know that our feelings are actually our armor. It's our battle cry. It's okay to go to war and be emotional. It's okay to feel your feels and fight for your rights. Like, feeling your feelings is not like mushy. It's actually pretty bold to really witness, experience, and share what we are feeling inside, because like I said before, it is the portal to the breakthrough and the spiritual ascension. So here we go. I'm pulling today from the Modern Spiritual Latino Oracle. It's one of my new favorites. All right, let's see what we got. Well then, I'm going to show you all the card. So first of all, look at the moon literally on top. Not all of the cards have the moon. There's a moon in the wooden spoon, kind of like the little fairy tale, right? And there's a woman kind of weaving, and there are candles, because the message of the card is altar work. So hello, ideas for rituals. It says crown chakra. So it's the top chakra. It's the third of the top 3 chakras. It's paying homage. So I don't know if anyone has something that they want to like really recognize or witness, like ancestor or just something energy. Like, I don't know about you all, but in my altar, I have a Kuan Yin statue because I'm all about compassion and mercy. It's reclaiming roots, ritual work, and decolonizing spirituality. And I really love that idea too, because when I think about decolonizing spirituality, that's where the intuition goes. Like, you can do whatever you want. Like, no one gets to tell you what the ritual is. You know, being told what a specific ritual needs to be comes from the idea of colonization, that there are rules to being spiritual, right? And so I offer you that in this Cancer new moon, you get to feel your feels and start to really tap into the intuition of what does an altar look like for you? What does altar work look like for you? And what rituals do you intuitively, as a spiritual being in the physical realm, want to begin to practice? And as we wrap this up, I want to remind everyone that we're having open enrollment soon for more comadres. I can't wait to see more comadres joining us in these spaces. The week of the 19th, specifically on July 22nd, is when we'll begin to do this. So yeah, make sure you pay attention to all the announcements so that more comadres and future comadres can begin to experience the magic of our community. All right, comadres, we're going to stay tuned for the Q&A right after this.